Gerold, not leaving you out of this conversation. You portrayed Perry in Strong Inside at the Children's Theater. And if you did not see it, you missed an excellent performance. I was there on the first night. And it was really interesting, you know, watching you be Perry. So one of my questions for you is, how do you get ready to play an individual, a character? How do you put yourself in that character space, so to speak?
Firstly, I went out and bought a barbell and started working out because he's in significantly better shape than I usually keep myself in. But it was conversations with Andrew, reaching out and talking to many people in the community. My grandmother, who actually is from the Murfreesboro area, went to church with a few of Perry's family. So, this a lot of conversations with a lot of different people, a lot of research, a lot of books. I went out and bought the wrong version, the TYA version of Strong Inside, and I read through that, and I was like, oh, this is a short book. And then, Andrew was like, oh, that's the TYA version. Here's the real book, and oh, okay. There's a lot of mental preparation. I thought of basketball, just thinking that he was a student athlete, so I'm gonna buy a basketball. And then when you start having these conversations with the people that he touched, you realize that he was so much more than just a basketball player. Which is one of the first things that Andrew told me, which the show itself, it stops right around his first game at Vanderbilt, but I mean, his life was so much more than that. He ends up being a lawyer and a teacher. So I heard about him being a student athlete, and that was really the angle that my mother took, was that, look at these people. And he was one name in a long list of people that I had just heard their names. And so when I was approached to do this play, I knew that he was a student athlete, but I had no idea of just the reach that he had. It's so much more than just basketball that he contributed to just Tennessee history.
Yeah, he was a phenomenal classmate, a phenomenal friend. I think Joe and I know we both count him not only as classmates, but we were friends during our tenure at Pearl High School. Perry also could have a little fun.
A good sense of humor. I used to joke with him all the time, and prior to practice, I would be joking with him about some of the classes that he was taking, and I would ask him about his grades and so on, and I would say, "Oh man, that's great, man." I said, "Well, when you gonna start hanging out with us so you can learn something else?"
He was known as a straight arrow, right?
Yeah, he was. But he would have a little fun every now and then. He was pretty as straight as they go, which was a little bit different than Walter, his good buddy. Walter was a little bit looser than Perry, and they almost tied for valedictorian, so they were intellectually comparable as well. But Walter was just a little lighter, I think.
Well, Walter had a different sense of humor. Walter was really friendly and outgoing. Not saying that Perry wasn't, but Walter was really down to earth. He was really a good guy and very sensitive and very understanding about a lot of things, and he could communicate. Both of them can communicate with a whole lot of topics that you want to talk about.
Yeah, I remember, I don't remember the year of the class reunion, but it was one reunion that Walter came back for, and he was the featured speaker. And he recounted his years and Perry's years at Vanderbilt. And Walter did play in Vanderbilt's band. And he was going on about, first of all, if you played in the band, and I can't carry a musical note, play any instrument. But my husband was in the band and knew them when they played. And Marcus Gunner did not play, from what I understand. And we taught them to play without looking at the sheet music. They memorized all of their music. And one of the things that I remember Perry saying at that particular reunion, not Perry, Walker, was that the band director expected him to play with sheet music. And he just, whatever the song was that they gave him to play, he just played it. And the remark he made was that he was a Pearl High Tiger. And he had been taught by Marcus Gunner, who was over the band, and there would be no way that he would, and I'm doing a lot of paraphrasing, disgrace Mr. Gunner by playing with sheet music. Now, I don't know if you all are really getting what I'm saying or not, but in that day and time, we were taught a little bit different. We were taught that you had to be 200 to 300% better than your white counterpart. And that's what he meant when he said there would be no way that he would disgrace Marcus Gunner. I remember my husband had a small band that they used, and they never used sheet music. And I used to ask him, well, how do you all know what to play, what notes to play? He said, we're students of Mr. Gunner. We don't need sheet music, not when we're performing. So we were taught different. We were taught that we had to be 100 to 200% better. And I think that was demonstrated with Perry, with that basketball team of 1966, and with most students who graduated from Pearl High School up to 1982. Joe, if you agree or disagree.
Yes, you're right, Linda, and I agree 100% what you just said. I need to remind everyone, Coach Ridley went out on the football field and grabbed Perry Wallace and brought him into the gymnasium because Perry was out on the field playing an instrument, and he said, boy, you need to play basketball, and come on and go with me. And that's how it started with his basketball career. And Coach Ridley just took him off of the band.
Okay, last comments, Gerold. In playing Perry, what did you take away from this story for your own personal life?
One of the big things, and it's a sentiment that's actually been previously stated, is that history is now. My age, I don't really have a good grasp on these historical events that happen. I think of them as so separated from me, so distant. And just in doing the show and hearing the stories, just we had a workshop last summer, I believe it was last summer. Yeah, we had a workshop last summer, and we had people people were there who had met Perry, even Andrew met Perry. And it's tough for me to really, before the show, it was really tough for me to sit down and think about the fact that this wasn't that long ago.